sometimes the researcher call it as the partially square structural equation modeling. Okay, for the PLS, besides the PLS, we also has the latest version of the composite method, such as the generalized structure component analysis. Okay, the GSCA also similar like the PLSM, can handle for the composite model. Okay, and then we also can do the analysis using the regression on some score, also part of the variance-based structural equation modeling. But the most prominent is PLS. Okay, why? Because PLS SAM, we can get the software such as from the Smart PLS, Edenco, Walk PLS. Okay, this software apply the partially square path modeling, okay, which is under the VB SAM. Okay, many of the researchers are confused and sometimes they calling it as the variant based, sometimes call it PLSPM, path modeling, sometimes we call it as the partially square SAM. Okay, actually the correct ones we can just specific just name as the PLSM or PLSPM. VBSM actually is just the general name for the composite method. Okay. And then the covariance base, actually the method, it assess, we can get the result for the mean, variance, and covariance. But for the variance, we only can get the result for the mean and variance. That's why the purpose of the between these two methods are different. Okay, I will tell you what is the difference, and we as the researcher need to carefully choose which method is suitable for the current research. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, types of structural equation modeling. Okay, there are two approaches to estimate the relationship in a structural equation modeling. Okay, both PLSM and CBSM are used to estimate the relationship in a structural equation modeling. We can handle many variables, many constructs in a single model. Okay, according to Hare. Okay, maybe if for the local researcher in Malaysia, we usually refer to Prof. Zainuddin book. Okay, he always publish many version of his book. Okay, maybe the participant here, you can learn for the basic things. Maybe you can learn from the book Prof. Zainuddin Awang. Okay, and then each is appropriate for a different research objective. Okay, for the SAM method, for the SAM, CB-SAM and PLS-SAM, we have to know what is the goal of our research. Okay, what is the goal of our research? For example, CB-SAM, covariance-based structural equation modeling that already exemplified in Amos, this method only suitable for the confirmatory study. And for the PLS, SAM, only suitable for the exploratory study. Okay, confirmatory and exploratory are different things. Okay, the researcher need to distinguish their framework to determine whether their model are confirmatory or exploratory. It depends to the nature of our model. Okay, for the confirmatory, usually how we want to determine whether our model proposed is suitable for confirmatory or exploratory. Okay, for the confirmatory, we can know, okay, if you just apply the previous theory, you just apply the previous theory and adapt into your study, into the current study, we call it as the confirmatory study. For example, let's say you choose the service quality construct they already proposed by Parasurama 1985. This construct quite famous under the management and marketing service lah research, because okay, the Parasurama proposed the service quality is actually used for the banking sector. But after that, many researchers across discipline, like for the education, tourism, also using the same construct. So they just using the Parasuraman construct and apply in their study into the domain, into the new domain. Okay, we use the service quality that has been developed by Parusarama and try to apply in the education, tourism, hospital, and so on. That's we call as the confirmatory study. But for the exploratory study, what you need to know, you just want to develop the new model. Okay, you want to develop the new model based on the inconsistent statement, or maybe you just develop model based on the lack of evidence or facts. Okay, but for the confirmatory, you have strong evidence, you have strong fact to make sure that this model has should be tested. Okay, so this is a difference between a confirmatory and exploratory. Okay, later I will show you to make more proper. I will show you the slide, the next slide. Okay, between the confirmatory and exploratory, because maybe sometimes the researcher are not quite familiar with the confirmatory and exploratory. They just know about the method. Okay, they just know about the structural equation modeling. Okay, every time they just want to test the relationship between construct in a single model. Okay, they immediately assume structural equation modeling. They didn't know what is the purpose between the same method. Okay, you have to know. We need to distinguish between the confirmatory and exploratory before we want to apply any method to testing the hypothesis. Okay, the second one, okay, researcher should focus, okay, for example, like I say lah, okay, in situation where theory is less developed, okay, if the theory is less developed, we can consider to use the PLS-SAM as alternative to SAM. But if you have strong theory, the theory is already developed, we need to apply the CB-SAM. This is what is the difference when we want to use the CB-SAM and PLS-SAM. Okay, the CB-SAM for the confirmatory, which is the theory developed, and for the theory that is less developed, we need to use the PLS-SAM. Okay, the PLS-SAM are actually using the ordinary least square, but for the CB-SAM already default in AMOS, we use the maximum likelihood. In the statistical properties, many statisticians recognize maximum likelihood is the best estimator compared the ordinary least square. Okay, next. Okay, this is the table I will try to share with you. Okay, this is a difference between the confirmatory and exploratory. Okay, for the confirmatory, replicating an established theory into a new domain. Okay, that's already I mentioned. If you apply, for example, we choose the theory acceptance model, TAM model, U-Tout model, or social exchange theory that actually developed for the tourism or maybe from the management. Okay, we can try into a new domain. We can try to apply into a new field, such as we try to apply under education, medical. Okay, because we're just replicating from the established theory into a new domain. That is part of the confirmatory. But for the exploratory, we have to develop a new model based on lack of evidence. Okay, we just create the model based on the rumors or maybe from the inconsistent statement. We do not have any evidence. Okay, for the for the confirmatory, actually is used for the estimating purpose. Okay, rather than the exploratory actually used for the prediction purpose. Okay, for estimating purpose, we if the researcher want to predict the future, okay, that's suitable for the PLSM. But if the researcher trying to estimate the model based on the factor that they are collected from the literature, okay, this is confirmatory study. Okay, that's why we have to know whether to use CBSM or PLSM. We need to know how to differentiate between them. Actually, the CBSM and PLSM are complementing to each other. Okay, we cannot just how to okay, the PLSM is much better than CBSM. The CBSM is much better than PLSM. Actually, this is not relevant because actually both method are superior in the case of the situation lah. Okay, for the theory driven, okay, we can use the confirmatory study. If we want to test the hypothesis, okay, to test the hypothesis, we use the confirmatory study. Okay, for the exploratory, of course, we just want to predict the relationship between the construct involved in the model. Okay, for the theory testing, okay, we just want to testing the priori hypothesis. Let's say we already assume that the service quality, for example, service quality is the exogenous construct. We know that service quality, when the service quality increase, the customer satisfaction also increase. So if that's happened, we just want to confirm that whether the service quality can affect the customer satisfaction. In the literature, we found that service quality, yes, has a relationship, has significant effect on the customer satisfaction. So using SAM, we just want to confirm this relationship. Okay, so after you just get finding from the analysis, okay, we know that, okay, we can support that service quality has significant effect on customer satisfaction. Okay, this is the theory testing. But for the PLSM, we use for the theory development or exploration purpose. We just develop the posterior hypothesis. Okay, we does not sure whether which one should be whether the this construct, the IV, should be suitable as the exogenous construct. We did not sure the role of the construct. Okay, so we have to know, okay, if the researcher doesn't know in PLSM, they can apply the we can setting the construct. Okay, for example, okay, if we did not sure about the purpose, the construct, actually the PLSM offer a new method they call as the confirmatory tetrad analysis, CTA, PLS CTA. But actually the PLS CTA is still a new version and still under development. So maybe so that's why many researchers are still not familiar with the PLS CTA. That PLS CTA was proposed in 2005, 2015, still new. That's why we didn't familiar about the PLS CTA, but actually already exemplified in Smart PLS version 3. But if we try to analyze using the Edenco software, that software only offer the consistent PLS and the PLSPM path modeling. Okay, every software has their own strength. Okay, every software has their approach. Okay, but the most popular is Smart PLS lah, because Smart PLS can do many software, can do many approach. We can get the result. Uh, for example, if we want to test the model using the PLS CTA, consistent PLS, PLS predict, okay, all methods can be found in the Smart PLS. But in other software like Warp PLS, they offer only about the partially square path modeling. But to get the free trial version, maybe for the basic test, maybe you can start for the Edenco software lah. Because Edenco software, you can trial for 1 year. But for the Smart PLS version 3, you just get the free installation only 30 days. Okay, after that, we need to buy lah. You can buy annually or monthly. Okay, depends lah. Depends on the researcher. Okay, next, okay, confirmatory study. Okay, for the common factor model, okay, that I has mentioned earlier. Okay, for the common factor, also part of the CBSAM. And for the composite method, we use the PLSAM. So what is the difference? What is the meaning of the common factor? Okay, common factor means that we already know that this construct is a factor. Okay, for example, okay, like the Hensler et al., Hensler 2016, he said to determine whether the construct should be recognized as the common factor or composite method, we can know by the nature of the construct. Okay, for example, for the common factor construct, actually usually the construct is about the behavior. Okay, for example, the behavior construct is the trust, satisfaction, loyalty, okay, leadership, okay, and so on. Okay, that I have mentioned here. Okay, the customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, trust, distrust, attitudinal, communication, effective, emotional, leadership, and performance. This is part of the behavioral construct. The behavioral construct is suitable for the common factor model. Common factor model actually only useful for the CB-SAM. Okay. But if your theory, but if your construct is about the type of system, okay, according to Hensler 2016, the exploratory, we can recognize the exploratory if the construct is in the design construct. Okay, design construct meaning that the designer designed the construct. Okay, for example, is the brand equity, type of system, information sources, decision making perspective, network structure, network capability, technology, device, location. Okay, if we can,
Dr. Ashraf, sorry
okay,
to interrupt.
Okay.
Boleh buat slideshow tak?
Slideshow. Okay,
Yeah,
tak clear.
yeah. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay, any question about this difference between the confirmatory and exploratory? No. Okay, but you have we as the researcher need to determine whether our construct should be in the confirmatory or exploratory. If we can know based on the construct applied in the study. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, this is the CB-SEM and VB-SEM. Okay, I just give the overview about the comparison between the CB-SEM and VB-SEM. Just the overview. Okay, let's say for the CB-SEM we have several of the approach. Okay, maximum likelihood based CB-SEM. Okay, this is the robust estimator but very sensitive to the measurement scale. Okay, and then we have a new version of the estimator, okay, diagonal weighted least square and the weighted least square maximum variance. Okay, these three estimator MLE, DWLS, and the WLSMV are recognized as the robust estimator because they are not affected by the distribution of data. Even if your data is not normal, actually we still can handle with the maximum likelihood, diagonal weighted, and weighted least square maximum variance. But for this estimator, the WLS and the WLSMV, we can found in certain software like the R programming, but it almost only for the MLE, GLS, ADF, and ULS. Okay, for the GLS, the data at least should be normal lah. The data should be normal, and the assumption is much less stringent compared to the maximum likelihood. And for the ADF, asymptotic distribution free based BSEM, the data is the data not normal and requires at least 500 samples. Okay, this is very large sample. Usually, if our population is large, okay, our population is large. Of course, we have the large sample, so we can use the ADF. But the ADF only for the not normal data. But the most recommended is the maximum likelihood. Okay, for the VBSAM, okay, PLSPM, partially square path modeling. The most popular software actually was developed since 1965 by the Herman Wald. Okay, Herman Wald is called as the father of PLS lah. Father of PLS. He is the one create the method of PLSM. But in that time, the PLSM has been debated many times in terms of the strength, in terms of the accuracy of an estimate, and so on. Okay, but today many of the software just know that, okay, for example, Ringer, the developer of the smart PLS, already offer many approach to cater the limitation under this PLS PM. Okay, so we can if you are the PLS user, you can either you can know how many method they already apply in the smart PLS. Okay, the second one is the consistent PLS that was developed since 2010 but still under development. The consistent PLS only offer for the reflective measurement model, cannot handle the formative. But for the PLS PM, we can handle both. Okay, we can handle both. The CBSM also can handle both of the measurement type of the type of measurement. The consistent BLS actually was developed to produce the consistent estimate. The PLS and PM before this, we recognize PLS PM are not consistent. The method is not consistent. Every time we just want to run the analysis, the result will be different, but not too much. Will be slightly different because the PLS PM is depends to the bootstrapping approach to produce the standard error. But for the CBSET, this method doesn't need this bootstrapping approach to produce the standard error of an estimate. But we can use but this time many of the researcher currently can use the bootstrapping approach to testing the mediation analysis. Okay, maybe I will share you later. And then this is the PLS regression developed by Svante Wald. Okay, this is the son of the Herman Wald. Sanwa, okay, he is proposed the PLS regression, but actually used in the science field. Okay, for example, if the researcher from the biotechnology, biotech, food tech, okay, they usually use the PLS regression to estimate the relationship between construct. Okay, but for the social science, usually we use the PLS-PM and the consistent PLS. Okay, this is the weighted PLS-PM. Okay, the only difference is PLS-PM using the OLS estimator, but for the weighted PLS, we use the WLS estimator. Okay, the purpose is same. Okay, the latest version of the same method, the composite method, is the generalized structure component analysis. Okay, this method using the alternative least square estimator. Okay, this method has been proposed by Huang and Takane, okay, 2004. Okay, actually, if you interested to apply the GACSM, okay, you just type the GESA software, GESCA, GESA software. Okay, this is the free software. Free software, you can just type in the Google and you can find the GESA software. You can run the analysis using the online. They're using the cloud. Okay, lastly is the regression of some score. Okay, in this stage, okay, using this method, we can apply using the SPSS lah. Okay, but the problem is many researcher misuse about the PLSM and the CBSM because they doesn't know to differentiate between them. Okay, for the PLSM, many of the researcher apply VBSM because VBSM can handle the small sample size. Actually, this statement is not strong enough to justify the use of the PLS. Even by Marco Suster, the proponent of PLSM currently, he suggests that the small sample size can be applied if the population of our study is small. Okay, for example, if our population is below than 200, maybe we can get the sample size from the 200 population is around below than 100. So that's suitable for the PLSPM. But many researchers, even they have large of the population, they still to collect very small sample size because they want to run using the VBSAM, PLSM. Yes, the PLSM can handle the small sample size, even at the 20 sample size that has been simulated by the Ching to 1999. Okay, he also said that PLSM can handle at least 20 sample size, but for the CBSM cannot lah because at least 100 sample size is much better to produce the accurate result. If the sample not adequate, the sample power also decrease. Okay, so if the researcher using a PLS just because of the sample size requirement are small, this justification actually not strong enough. Okay. Okay, and then sometimes the researcher also, okay, they apply the PLSM because the PLSM can handle not normal data. Okay, actually, okay, like I mentioned here, CBSM also has other estimators such as the ADF. ADF also not normal, but it need at least 500 sample size. But we still can use another estimator like the unweighted least square. So if the researcher prefer to use PLS just because the data is not normal, actually still not quite enough. So the most important is we need to distinguish our character, our model character first. Okay, for example, we need to know whether our model should be in confirmatory or exploratory. Okay, this is the main priority, the main objective. The goal of the research is depends on the type of the model should be depends on the goal of the research. Okay, if we want to test the hypothesis, we use CB-set. But if we want to predict the analysis, to predict the relationship between construct in a model, we can use the PLSM. Okay, like here, okay, Boland, the one that developed the incremental fitness, okay, insufficient sample size can be used with two-stage least square regression. Okay, because the method that already applied in the SPSS has the same power like the CBSAM. Okay, this method are still new, that has been proposed around 2010. Okay, if the researcher has insufficient of sample size, maybe you can use the two-stage least square regression compared to PLSM, because PLSM actually was developed for the exploratory. But to use PLS just because the data can because the PLS can handle the small sample size data not normal. Actually, this is only the strength of the PLSM. We cannot use the PLSM because the data obtained is small. Okay, actually we need to distinguish our model first, and then we can explain about the strength of the method. Okay, the SAM, okay, both SAM, whether SAM PLS or SAM AMOS, okay, CB SAM is a powerful statistical method to solve the following analysis. Okay, to analyze the model with latent construct, or sometimes the researcher call it as the latent variable. Okay, latent construct meaning that the construct that has been measured by several items. Okay, latent construct can be differentiate between, okay, for example, we have two types of latent construct, the reflective and the formative construct. Okay, usually we use the reflective construct because the item will measure, because the item can measure the construct. For example, the service quality has 22 items, okay, with 5 dimensions. Okay, it means that the item measure the service quality construct. Okay, this is the latent construct. Okay, compare the regression. We cannot use the term of the latent construct because to analyze the regression analysis using SPSS, we need to compute the mean. We need to compute the mean first before we want to analyze. Okay, so for example, let's say we for the independent X1, we have 10 items. So before we want to drag the variable in the SPSS, the regression analysis, we need to compute mean first. Okay, whether to use the mean score or sum score. We need to compute first, and then we can analyze the regression analysis as usual. But for the CBSEM, we didn't have to compute. We can directly measure, we can directly analyze. Okay, let's say if you have 10 items, and then we have 5 construct in a single model, yes, we can run using the same method. Okay, this is how powerful of SAM. We can use many analysis in a single model. But if we use the regression analysis, it's quite difficult, especially when we want to present our model. Because to make the presentation using the regression analysis, they have a lot of the table that we need to understand. Sometimes the panel are difficult to identify. Okay, which one table for this model, which one is the table? Because the SPSS, the regression analysis, will produce many table. Okay, but we using SAM, we can from the figure we can explain more because the result already embedded in the figure. Okay, I will show you later. Okay, and then next is the to run the confirmatory factor analysis. Okay, the CFA. In PLS, we call it as the confirmatory composite analysis, but in CBSEM, we call it as the confirmatory factor analysis. Both CFA and CCA has the same purpose lah, to evaluating the measurement model that has in a research model. We want to analyze whether the item, the model, the construct involved in a single model are fit, whether the data that we collected is compatible with the model proposed. If not compatible, the result of the fitness index will be not satisfied. Okay, in CFA, we have several criteria. For example, we need to make sure that this construct need to fulfill the requirement of fitness index. And then the factor loading. The factor loading should be at least 0.6, or sometimes the researcher need at least 0.7. The factor loading to actually want to explain about how meaningful of the item to measure the construct. That's why if the item with the poor loading below the 0.6 or below the 16%, the item should be removed from the model because it is considered as not meaningful to explain the construct. Okay, that's why many researchers delete the poor loading. And at the same time, we can make sure the fitness index of the model can be satisfied. Okay, also we have the AVE, average variance extractor discriminant validity, that need to be fulfilled before we go to the structural model. Okay, in CBSAM and also PLS, we have two different model. Okay, the first one is the measurement model, and the second one is the structural model. Okay, for the measurement model, we can handle with the CFA or CCA in the PLS. Okay, we can use the method of CFA or CCA. But for the structural model, we want to test the hypothesis or to predict the relationship. Okay, if we want to test the hypothesis, we can go to the structural model. But if we want to evaluating the measurement model to test the model, we use the CFA. Okay, this I will explain. Maybe this is not clear. Okay, next. Okay, to analyze multiple equations simultaneously. Okay, with SAM, we can handle many variable. Okay, many construct in a single model. Like I mentioned earlier. Okay, if one construct has 10 items and we have 5 construct, okay, so we can handle 50 items in a single model. Okay, so this is powerful of SAM. Okay, and then we also can analyze the multicollinearity problem. Okay, multicollinearity problem in CBSAM we can depends to the correlation, the priori correlation. Okay, in CBSAM, if the correlation between construct is more than 0.85, okay, this we can assume that this construct has either one of this construct has the multicollinearity problem. So in order to solve this problem, we can delete either one of this construct, okay, to avoid the multicollinearity problem. But in PLS, they have another method. Okay, but today I just want to focus about the CBSAM because if we want to discuss for the CBS and PLS in at the same time, maybe quite confused. Okay, okay, so I just focus about CBSAM with Amos. Okay, next, okay, to analyze the path analysis with multiple dependence, okay, or multiple endogenous construct. Okay, with SAM, we can have many dependent construct. Not only have the many exogenous construct, the IV, but also we can do the analysis with multiple dependent or endogenous construct. Okay, in CBSAM, the IV we can consider as the exogenous construct. For the dependent, we can consider it as the as endogenous construct. Okay, because the okay, because this the name has been changed after we use the same method. Okay, if we have multiple dependent, we can use the same. But if you compare with the regression, okay, if we cannot run the analysis with the multiple dependent using the regression linear, but you need to use the multivariate analysis. Okay, if we have a more than one of the dependent item, dependent variable. Okay, but with SAM, yes, we still can handle it. We can handle more than 15 items and also handle more than 100 items in a single model. Okay, and then we can use to estimate the correlation and covariance in a model. Okay, we didn't have to, for example, in regression, we need to separately analyze. Okay, for example, for the correlation, we need to calculate to analyze using the bivariate correlation, even though the regression already produce the correlation result. But in CBSAM, we can estimate the result simultaneously. We can get the standardized beta coefficient and the value of the correlation in a model. Okay, and then you can use the mediating and moderating variable. Okay, I will show you. Okay, this is the type of model. Okay, in CFA, okay, in CFA we have two different types. Okay, individual and pool CFA. If we want to test the single model, we can use the individual CFA. individual CFA here. Okay, this is the individual CFA because only one construct involved for testing. Okay, this is the fitness index. Okay, here I will mention here. Okay, we have several of fitness index, but the most prominent is we can select this 5 fitness index. Okay, the chi-square, the RMSEA, CFI, IFI, and TLI. Okay, the chi-square to make sure this construct achieve their fitness, we need to make sure that the chi-square should be less than 5 or 3, RMSEA lower than 0.08, CFI, IFI, and TLI should be higher than 0.9 or sometimes 0.95. Okay, this from this we can conclude that this construct has fit before we go to test the structural model, before we go to test the hypothesis. Okay, and then this is if you run the CFA, you will get the result of factor loading in the middle between the construct and the variable. Okay, this is the variable. Okay, this is the variable. Okay, this is the latent construct or latent variable. Okay, this is the error, measurement error. Okay, every item has their own measurement error. Okay, for the factor loading, after we run the analysis, we will get the result of factor loading here. Okay, between here at the error, at the single error. Okay, but this is the individual CFA. But if we want to test the whole model, the entire model, we use the pool CFA. Okay, if we compare here, okay, pool CFA can handle many construct in a single model, but for the individual, we just test the one by one of the factor, but actually we still get the same result even we use the pool CFA. The factor loading produced by the pool CFA still consistent even we use the pool CFA compare the individual CFA. Okay, but the pool CFA is recognized as the much recommended approach because because the pool CFA taking into account of the correlation compare the individual CFA does not has the correlation result. Okay, this is the pool CFA. Okay, if we have 10 if you have the 5 construct, we need to draw 5 construct with the pair of the correlation. Okay, this is the fitness index. Okay, this is the reflective measurement. Okay, and then this is the formative construct. Okay, this is the example of the formative construct. When we have the formative construct, we didn't have the fitness index. Okay, compare the previous one, okay, reflective, we need to make sure that the factor loading should be at least 0.6 and the fitness index should be fulfilled by the recommended threshold value. Okay, but for the formative, we just we do not have the fitness index. Okay, the formative meaning that the item, education, the variable, occupation, and income measure the socio-economic. Okay, so compare the reflective, this item, okay, the construct measure the item. Okay, here, this is the difference between the reflective and the formative. Okay, for example, in this case, okay, education, occupation, income may form the SES, the socio-economic. Okay, if this form meaning that the formative meaning that they are formed, this variable forming this construct. If without education, the occupation income is still not adequate to forming the SES construct. For example, let's say from this, we can explain that if the education is higher, we will get the occupation. At the same time, if we get the occupation, the job position is increased, the income also increase. So these three items are interrelated to each other. That's why we have the correlation between variable to measure the SES construct. Okay, this is the factor, the formative construct. Okay, but usually the most familiar is the reflective. Okay, reflective construct. Okay, for the formative, this item will form in this construct. Okay, here is the example here. Let's say, okay, I just take this model, okay, from the book, from the process analysis book. Okay, here. Okay, this is the whole model. Okay, this is the SES, education, occupation, income. Okay, actually also can be applied in a single model with the reflective measurement. Okay, this is the formative. Here is the reflective, reflective, reflective. Okay, here we consider it as the stress. For example, stress, we consider it as the first order construct. But for the health, we consider it as the second order construct. Okay, what is the difference between second order and the first order? Okay, stress, the first order has been measured by several items, but with health, that is considered as the second order construct has been measured by two different sub-construct, that is mental health and the physical health. Okay, this mental health and the physical health measure the health. So this is we should consider as the second order construct. Okay, the first order, this is mental health and the physical health considered as the first order construct like the stress. Okay, here. Okay, this model, yeah, this is the mediator. For this example, the stress is considered as the mediator construct. Okay, here. Okay, anyone have any question before we go to the next slide?
Doktor,
Aha,
boleh bagi contoh yang reflektif tak?
yang reflektif. Okay,
Ah,
untuk model ke keseluruhan model ke macam mana?
macam bagi satu contoh lah, macam individu CFA ni, macam saya
Mhm.
tengok arrow dia berbeza, macam daripada faktor tu kalau
Ah,
reflektif dia ke all the items kan, tapi kalau yang satu lagi tu formative
ya.
tu arrow dia menghala ke SES tu kan.
Aha.
Boleh
Kalau
tak
yang
bagi contoh
contoh
reflektif?
soalan yang untuk yang reflektif, kalau puan biasa tengok tak dalam borang soal selidik yang berkaitan dengan efek. Contohnya, okey, katakanlah okey service quality. Contoh katakanlah X ni adalah service quality construct. Okey, so item bagi setiap untuk service quality ialah okey, saya selesa dengan servis yang disediakan oleh pihak hospital. Okey, itu adalah contoh item dalam bentuk statement, tu adalah reflektif. Tapi kalau untuk formative, kebiasaannya dia bukan dalam bentuk statement. Dia lebih contohnya macam education. Okay, kita dapat daripada education, occupation, income ni directly observe daripada questionnaire. Contohnya dalam questionnaire kita ada okay, section A, dia ada untuk demographic profile. Okay, section B berkaitan soalan yang ada statement yang menggunakan Likert scale. Okay, kalau yang soalan yang dalam bentuk demographic profile, dia adalah berkaitan tentang gender, education, occupation, income. Okay, jadi ketiga dalam kes ni, education, occupation, income ni sebenarnya mengukur SES. Kalau tanpa salah satu daripada variable ni, maknanya belum cukup untuk mengukur SES. Sebab itulah saling tiga-tiga variable ni saling berkaitan antara satu sama lain. Bila education tu meningkat, occupation dia pun ada. Jadi bila occupation ada, jadi income dia ada lah. Jadi saling berkaitan untuk mengukur SES. Tapi kalau untuk dalam kes reflektif ni, maksudnya dia lebih kepada kesan, efek, causal, efek. Maknanya daripada konstruk ni, daripada service quality ni, apa yang responden tu akan dapat. Okay, katakanlah dari segi price. Maknanya dalam soalan tu, okay, harga makanan yang disediakan tu sangat berpatutan. Okay, itu adalah statement dalam bentuk efek. Okay, jelas Puan?
Jelas, terima kasih.
Okey. Jadi untuk perbezaan antara individu dan pool CFA ni, bezanya result dia still sama. Kita akan dapat nilai factor loading dan fitness index tu masih lagi sama. Walaupun kita menggunakan individual ataupun pool CFA. Itulah sebabnya bila kita run CBSM menggunakan maximum likelihood estimator, result dia still konsisten. Tapi kalau kita katakanlah kita guna PLSM, even kat PLSM sekarang ni, bila kita guna Smart PLS or Adenco software, okay, katakanlah kita buat secara berasingan analisis. Okay, untuk individual CFA, result dia factor loading mesti takkan sama dengan pool CCA. Okay, sebab itulah ramai argue tentang dari segi kelebihan PLS. Sebab bila melibatkan lebih daripada satu construct, result factor loading, kalau dalam PLS dia panggil composite loading, dia akan berubah berbanding dengan individual CFA. Tapi using CBSM, we still can get the same answer. Okay. If the model not complicated, okay, we can immediately use the full CFA lah. Tapi kalau katakanlah dalam dalam model yang kita propose tu, katakanlah satu construct tu ada 40 item. Okay. In a single construct, we have so many items. Okay, bila kita terlalu banyak items untuk kita apply in a single model to run the full CFA, maybe agak dia kata tak cukup space sebab Amos ni dia ada limited space. Okay, Amos software yang limited. Jadi sebab itulah individual CFA ni masih lagi boleh digunakan. If we have too many items in a single construct, we still can use the individual CFA because in this stage we can reduce the number of item. Okay, we can delete item. But to delete the poor loading only. But to delete the poor loading, we need to make sure that the item deletion should be below than 20% of the total item. Katakanlah kita ada dalam satu construct ni kita ada 5 item. Okay, satu construct ni S ni ada 4 item, Jadi kita tidak dibenarkan delete item melebihi daripada 20% of the total item yang ada ni. Okay, jadi kalau tak boleh delete daripada 20%, maksudnya dalam kes ni berapa item boleh? 10% kan? Maknanya maksimumnya hanya 2 item sahajalah. 2 item sahaja. Kalau lebih daripada 20%, maksudnya confirmatory nature tu tak capai. Itulah yang membezakan antara CBSI dengan PLS sebab kita perlu pastikan masih lagi mengekalkan dari segi confirmatory nature. If we want to delete more items, okay, in the actual study still not relevant lah for the using the CBSAM because CBSAM is the confirmatory study. Okay, untuk deleting hanya dibenarkan bawah daripada 20% of the total items. Okay, dalam kes ni total items ni ada berapa? Ada 8. Yang ni ada 4. Okay, depends lah. Okay, here, okay, next is the structural model. Okay, after we have make sure the fitness index has been fulfilled and the factor loading more than 0.7 and the average variable extracted and the composite reliability have fulfilled. Okay, then we can go to the structural model. Okay, here is the example of the structural model. Okay, kalau untuk structural model, we have in this case we have 2 IV and 1 DV. Okay, this is we can call as the observed modeling and the second one is unobserved modeling. Okay, untuk structural model yang observed modeling maksudnya maksudnya construct ini variable ini adalah kita panggil variable. Kalau ini kita panggil sebagai latent construct ataupun latent variable. Latent ini diukur oleh beberapa item. Tapi kalau untuk variable ni diukur oleh single sahaja, ada satu sahaja untuk mengukur. Jadi kita panggil sebagai observed modeling. Tapi dalam kes ni, okay, itu adalah perbezaan antara yang sepatutnya Y ni ada mistake sini. Okay, sepatutnya should be the X2 should be changed to Y, the dependent. Okay, because I just want to compare between this observed modeling and unobserved modeling. Okay, here this is a letter, this is the observed variable. Okay, even if we run the analysis, okay, for example, let's say we run the analysis regression using the observed, okay, let's say we compute the mean score of S1 and the mean score of for S2 and Y and also Y. The result obtained from the regression analysis will be similar like the Amos software. Okay, I will give the example later. Sebabnya result yang terhasil daripada SPSS masih lagi sama even kita run menggunakan software yang berbeza. Okay, nanti saya akan tunjuk example. Okay, next, okay, this is the mediation modeling. Okay, here is the mediation modeling. Okay, ni dalam case ni, in this case, we can see that university reputation is the IV or exogenous construct. Okay, student satisfaction is the mediation and the DB, of course lah, the student loyalty. Okay, kalau untuk observed modeling, okay, S, M, Y, okay, mediator. This is mediator. Untuk mediator, kita perlu ada modeling, kena ada error lah, kena ada residual. Sebab S ada kesan terhadap M dan M ada kesan terhadap Y. Jadi bila M tu ada kesan daripada antecedent variable, okay, jadi dia perlu ada R. Jadi kalau katakanlah kita tak draw R, Amos dia akan inform pada kita lah bahawa kita perlu kena ada residual untuk selected variable. Okay. Untuk mediation ni, okay, just overview lah. Mediation actually has many approach. Okay, the first one we have the Sobel test that has been developed 1982. And then we have the Vera and Kenny 1986. And then we have the McKinnon 1991, Schrock and Bolger 2003, and the latest one we use the Pritchett and Hayes that depends to the bootstrapping for testing the mediation modeling. Okay, untuk Sobel test, kalau untuk Sobel test, ke semua approach yang saya sebut tadi tu semuanya boleh mengendalikan mediation lah, modeling mediation. Tapi yang lebih recommended, we can use the bootstrapping approach. Okay, sebab bila bootstrapping approach ni, dia akan mendapatkan nilai p-value, significant p-value untuk indirect effect. Tapi kalau untuk Barrett and Kenny, yang ramai guna sekarang ni, kita bergantung dari segi size of the direct effect. Okay, for example, let's say, okay, kalau Sobel test dia ada calculation dia lah. Kita boleh dapatkan formula daripada Google. Ada formula, kita just key in value. Okay, kalau untuk Barrett and Kenny, the assumption, the rule by the Barrett and Kenny, we need to make sure that the S independent variable should be significant first to the Y. If not significant, we cannot insert the mediator construct. Okay, so this is the assumption by the Barrett and Kenny 1986. Jadi menurut Barrett, kita perlu pastikan value variable S ni mesti significant terlebih dahulu terhadap Y. Barulah kita boleh consider sama ada mediator should be occur ataupun tidak dalam model ni. Tapi kalau kita menggunakan Pritchett and Hayes yang menggunakan bootstrapping approach, kita boleh mengendalikan metode secara serentak. Okey, maknanya tanpa perlu kita mengambil kira X tu terhadap Y. Tak perlu, kita boleh simultaneously measure. Okay. Using the bootstrapping approach. Maknanya kita akan dapat nilai untuk indirect effect. Okay. Kalau untuk hypothesis, for example, the hypothesis, okay, the mediator has mediate the relationship between the S and Y. Okay, so this is the example for the mediation. Okay, kalau untuk direct effect, okay, S has positive effect on Y. According to net code 2015, code dia kata dalam SAM dia akan menghasilkan ada dua tail lah, one tail and two tail. If we confirm the direction of the hypothesis, sama ada positif or negatif, katakanlah kita dalam hypothesis kita ada justify S has positive effect on Y. Maknanya ada direction. Yang tu kita kena guna one tail of hypothesis. Tapi kalau katakanlah kita ada two tail hypothesis, maksudnya S has significant effect on Y. Okay. Maknanya kita tidak meletakkan ada direction, sama ada positif ataupun negatif. So this is the difference between the one tail and two tail. Sebab ramai yang confused bila adanya kebanyakan pelajar, student dia jumpa saya, bila kita nak guna untuk one tail dan bila pula kita boleh guna untuk two tail. Terutama kalau yang menggunakan Smart PLS. Sebab bila yang ada yang guna Smart PLS, dia ada satu button macam CBC Amos dia dah default untuk two tail. Tapi untuk ada kalau untuk bootstrap dia akan keluarlah one tail and two tail. Tapi kalau Smart PLS, before we want to get the result for the structural model, we need to select first whether we want to use the one tail or two tail. Okay, basically we use the two tail lah generally. Tapi kalau in case ada yang tanya what is the difference between the one tail and two tail, okay, we know how to answer lah. Okay, untuk one tail depends to the direction. If ada direction sama ada positif, hypothesis kita ada positif ataupun negatif, we can immediately apply the one tail lah. Kalau tak ada general, we can use the two tail. Okay, here is the example. Okay, university reputation is considered as the second order construct. Also, the student loyalty also considered as the second order construct. Okay, this second order construct has been measured by the three sub-construct, faculties, program, and collaboration. Okay, for the student loyalty has been measured by the two different construct, repurchase and recommend. Tapi untuk student satisfaction is considered as the first order construct. The first order construct tu maksudnya dia directly measure by items. Okay, tapi untuk contoh questionnaire, katakanlah dalam questionnaire untuk university reputation, kita boleh letakkan katakanlah section B university reputation, and then kita boleh buatlah item secara berasingan untuk faculties, section C faculties, section D program, section E collaboration. Ada juga sesetengah researcher tu dia gabung, tapi nak untuk lebih menyenangkan waktu kita nak insert value dalam Amos ataupun waktu key in, lebih baik kita untuk separate lah, sebab better separate lah, even kita ada beberapa sub construct. Okay, here is the single mediator. Okay, next is we have two mediators. Okay, using SAM, we can analyze multiple mediator. Okay, M1 and M2 is considered as the mediator. One mediator, two mediator. Okay, with one IV and one DV. One exogenous construct and one endogenous construct. Okay, to handle the mediation modeling, yes, we can use the mediation using SAM Amos. Okay, with SAM Amos, it will produce the result, okay, from S1 to M1, M1 to Y. All the single headed error will have the result after we run the analysis. Okay, untuk mediation modeling ni, dia ada limitation lah kalau kita guna Amos software. Sebab untuk Amos software, dia akan bagi result total indirect effect ataupun sum of indirect effect. Maknanya dalam mediation modeling, dia akan bagi total keseluruhan. Kalau untuk single mediator, tak ada masalah lah. Maknanya kita sebagai researcher boleh mengenal pasti nilai bagi indirect effect untuk single mediator. Tapi kalau katakanlah kita hendak buat perbandingan, we want to make the comparison between the M1 and M2, which mediator much pronounced, much important in the current study. Okay, jadi Amos software dia tak boleh. Dia hanya boleh bagi sum of indirect effect. Dia akan bagi nilai untuk keseluruhan ni. Tapi actually we have a new approach that has been developed by Macho in 2011. We can use the phantom approach. Okay, using phantom approach in Amos software, we can get the result for each specific indirect effect. Okay, untuk next series mungkin saya boleh tunjuk example lah untuk how to test the mediator using the phantom approach. Sebab kebanyakan paper yang saya baca daripada local tak ramai yang guna yang untuk phantom. Jadi saya adalah terbit beberapa paper yang menggunakan phantom approach. Okay, dalam tu adalah saya ada bagi sedikit guideline lah. Okay, untuk phantom approach. Phantom approach will assist the researcher to get the result specific indirect effect. Okay, kalau without the phantom, we can just get the result of total indirect effect. Okay, untuk assessment of the structural model, actually fitness index hanya diperlukan untuk CFA sahajalah untuk measurement model. Untuk structural model, we just go straight to test the hypothesis. Try to get the standardized estimate, unstandardized estimate, and the R squared, the coefficient of determination. Okay, here, okay, next, okay, this is the example of the moderation. Okay, here is the moderation modeling. Moderation meaning that, okay, in this case, okay, ada moderated in the relationship between S1 and M1. Ada effect. Kalau according to highest, okay, actually we have, let's say we have the mediator and then we also have the moderator. Kalau according to highest, if the moderator is occur in the relationship between S1 to M1, we can consider it as the mediated moderation. But if the moderator is happen in the relationship between M1 and Y, we can consider it as the moderated mediation. Okay, so itu adalah perbezaan nama antara sama ada mediated moderation ataupun moderated mediation. Okay, purpose dia samalah, hypothesis still sama. Okay, this is the moderation. Untuk moderation, actually we have several approach lah. For the categorical approach, we can use the multi-group CFA. Okay, multi-group CFA. But if our variable is continuous scale or interval scale, we need to use the interaction analysis. Okay, so this both are different thing but the purpose are same. Cuma yang berbeza dari segi measurement scale. Kalau continuous scale, kalau moderator variable tu adalah continuous scale, we use the interaction. Tapi kalau moderator variable tu adalah categorical, for example, the gender, education, uh, education lagi apa, gender, education, income ke, income yang dalam bentuk categorical, kita boleh guna multi-group CFA. Untuk multi-group CFA, dia ada beberapa approach lah, sama ada boleh guna pairwise ataupun kita boleh guna untuk chi-square different test ataupun heterogeneity test. In buku Prozab dia lebih kepada chi-square different test ataupun heterogeneity test untuk measure, untuk dapatkan nilai bagi moderator. Tapi sebenarnya moderator ni dia ada beberapa approach. Kalau di sebelah Eropah dia guna pairwise. Sebab untuk pairwise we can get the result for the moderator for each path. Tapi kalau untuk chi-square different test hanya untuk satu-satu path sahaja. Kalau pairwise kita kalau katakanlah dalam literature mengatakan ada hubungan. Moderator ada hubungan from S1 to M1, M1 to Y and S1 to Y. Maknanya moderator occur in all effect, we can use the pairwise. Okay, result still sama. Tapi kalau kita ada satu sahaja berlaku pada hubungan, kita boleh guna chi-square different test ataupun heterogeneity test. Okay, this is the example model lah. Okay, untuk moderator dia tak occur dalam, if we want to analyze using the moderation, dia tak akan occur dalam, dia hanya berlaku pada efek pada path ini sahaja. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, this is the guideline when we using the SAM method. Okay, untuk guideline using the SAM method, okay, I just give example, just the step last. Okay, untuk reflective, selalunya ada, sebelum kita go to the CFA, we need to apply the common method bias. Okay, before this, we didn't have to analyze the common method bias. Okay, actually common method bias has several techniques. For example, we have the Harman single factor. We have the common latent factor and marker variable. But the most prominent is the Harman single factor. Why we have to test the common method bias? Because we want to make sure that all items in the questionnaire, in the data, should be below than 50%. Kalau lebih daripada 50% hasil daripada dapatan menggunakan Harman single factor, maksudnya bias itu berlaku. Jadi dalam analisis, sebelum kita testing the evaluation model, kita kena guna common method bias. Common method bias ni untuk kita kenal pasti sama ada item, sama ada constructnya, sama ada data kita tu ada bias ataupun tak. Kalau lebih daripada 50% maksudnya ada bias. Okay, tapi kalau dapat bawah daripada 50%, maksudnya selamatlah, no bias occur in this model. Tapi actually still optional. Tapi maybe if we try to publish paper, kalau kita try untuk publish paper in the Scopus journal yang high reputation journal, before we want to test the CFA, many reviewer asking the authors why you didn't have to report the common method bias. Okay, kalau kita di peringkat di lokal ni mungkin tak ramai lagi lah yang menggunakan common method bias. Tapi in case if we want to publish dalam Scopus journal ke ISI, the reviewer always try to asking the author about the common method bias. Dia nak tengok juga result untuk common method bias sebelum CFA. Okay, untuk CFA, okay, I mentioned earlier lah. Okay, ada reflective, ada formative, and higher order construct is the one that we can consider as the second order construct. Okay, sebenarnya higher order construct ni dia ada 4 jenis. Okay, dia panggil reflective, ada panggil reflective formative, and formative reflective. But usually we use the reflective lah. Reflective tu macam yang saya mention tadi lah. Maksudnya, okay, for example, this is the reflective model. Okay, for the second order construct, okay, also that we can consider as the hierarchical component model. Okay, we have four different types. Okay, first, reflective. Reflective meaning that university has if university, the direction from university to faculties, the direction from university to programs in terms of the reflective. But kalau katakanlah formative reflective maksudnya faculties, program and collaboration direction dia single headed error from faculties to the university. And the item yang mengukur tu adalah reflektif. Okay, ini adalah reflektif. Okay, ini adalah reflektif. Tapi kebiasaannya dalam CV SEM bila kita baca tesis ke paper kebanyakan guna reflektif. Tapi hakikatnya in fact actually we have four different types of measurement. Maksudnya kita ada reflect kalau formative sini akan from faculties to university and then item tetap kekal jadi reflektif lah. Kalau katakanlah formative maksudnya faculties, program and collaboration ni single headed daripada faculty program education collaboration akan effect pada university reputation. Okay, ada soalan ke? Okay. Okay, next. Okay, this is the reflective measurement. Okay, we need to assess the convergent and discriminant validity lah. Okay, convergent validity can be represented by the AVE, average variance extractor. Untuk discriminant validity, in CBSM, we can use the Forney and Lacker. Okay, Forney and Lacker approach is the only approach for the discriminant validity. Tapi actually sebenarnya kita ada method lain. Contohnya multi-thread, multi-thread, multi-thread. Tapi multi-thread tu yang develop daripada FISK 1959 tu dikatakan agak sukar untuk difahami lah. Jadi yang lebih senang kita boleh menggunakan Forney and Lacker approach untuk assess the discriminant validity. But for those yang apply untuk PLSM, discriminant validity have two types. We can use the Forney and Lacker, and the second one we can use the HTMT, heterothread monothread ratio. Okay, untuk HTMT ni selalunya hanya sesuai untuk composite model lah. Tapi kalau untuk CBSM yang menggunakan software AMOS, kita ada satu approach sahaja iaitu Forney and Lacker. Okay, next we need at least we need to report the normality assessment lah. Okay, even though CBSM to recognize as the robust estimator, but at least we still need to report the normality assessment. Okay, this is the guideline when we using the reflective measurement. Okay, for the formative measurement step, okay, we can assess the conversion. Okay, this is only for the PLS lah. Yang ni hanya untuk PLS. Tapi kalau untuk formative yang menggunakan CBSM, dia tak ada assessment dia. Okay, kalau assessment ni hanya berlaku untuk reflektif sahaja. Yang menggunakan kepada CBSM. Okay, this is the example of the model fitness that I have mentioned earlier. Okay, we have three categories: absolute fit index, incremental fit index, and lastly parsimonious fit. Okay, for the absolute fit, actually we have three: chi-square, RMSEA, GFI. Okay, for the incremental fit, we have the AGFI, CFI, TLI, and NFI. Okay, tapi daripada yang saya recommend, yang saya senarankan tadi, kita cuma yang kita tengok selalunya yang recommended chi-square over degree of freedom, TLI, CFI, okay, ada lagi IFI, tak ada IFI, sepatutnya ada IFI. Okay, yang ni lepas tu kita ada untuk RMSEA. Okay, we have ni RMSEA, CFI, TLI, IFI and chi-square over degree of fitness. Kita ada 5 fitness index. Sebab dia paling kalau ikutkan kita ada banyak fitness index yang keluar daripada output AMOS, tapi selalunya untuk reporting kita hanya pilih selected at least represent by each category. At least represented by each category. Untuk RMSEA kita boleh pilih lah untuk represent by absolute fit index. Tapi kalau katakanlah researcher untuk report semua fitness index pun tak ada masalah sebenarnya. Tapi sebenarnya cukuplah salah satu yang mewakili kategori ni untuk tu pun dah cukup, dah mencukupi. Untuk incremental fit index, if the researcher just want to report about the CFI, okay, it's also okay. Maknanya kita memerlukan at least 3 fitness index iaitu RMSEA, CFI ataupun chi-square over degree of freedom. Tapi untuk bagi dapat result yang lebih meyakinkan bagi incremental fit index, kita bolehlah tambah untuk TLI as long as the level of acceptance tu capai. Okay, this is the ni, okay, sensitive to sample size tu comment. Okay, this is the literature for the chi-square, RMSA, okay, and so on. Okay, this is the literature. Okay, Twitter ni kepada for those yang ada menulis untuk buat research, okay, at least we have the support lah. Okay, we have the support who is the develop the chi-square if we were to write up in the methodology part. Okay, this is the example lah, literature from each fitness index. Okay, for the structural model step, okay, yang ni untuk after we finish completing, after we make sure that the model has been fulfilled, the measurement model has been fulfilled using the CFA method, okay, then we can directly go to the structural model step to test the hypothesis. Okay, so we can testing path in our model, we can draw the model similar like we propose in the framework. But we just need to for the CB-SEM, we just need to report about the R square or coefficient of determination. But for the Q2 and F2, this Q2 and F2 only available in the in the PLSM. But for CB-SEM, just report about the R square or coefficient of determination. Okay, to test the hypothesis. And then if we have the mediation, of course lah, we need to explain whether we use the Barron approach or Sobel approach, McKinnon, Schrock approach, and Hayes. But if the researcher apply the bootstrapping approach, usually we use the terms here lah, the preacher and Hayes approach. But the most prominent still Barron and Kenny lah, because this method lebih senang untuk difahami. Tapi in terms of the statistical power, we use the preacher and Hayes approach to test the mediation. But if we have the for multiple mediation, okay, we still can use the McKinnon process macros. Okay, process macros actually was developed by Hayes that are available in SPSS. Tapi kalau untuk AMOS, we can use the McKinnon and Phantom model. Okay, some of the latest paper that has been written by the Marco Suster in 2019, okay, he say process macros should not be recommended if the researcher already apply for the same method, because the process macros only useful for those apply the regression analysis. Okay, using again kepada sesiapa yang menggunakan regression analysis yang ada multiple mediator, kita boleh guna proses makros. Tapi sekiranya kita dah guna SAM, tak perlulah kita nak menggunakan proses makros, tapi kita boleh guna sama ada untuk guna McKinnon approach ataupun Phantom approach. Tapi kebanyakan ramai je yang masih guna proses macros, tapi tu bergantunglah. Cuma kalau my advice, okay, we can use the McKinnon or Phantom approach lah, much recommended if we use the same method. Okay, for serial mediation, we can use the process orgaskination plugin. Okay, serial mediation tu maksudnya, okay, from S1 has effect to M1, and then M1 has effect to M2. Okay, this is the example for the serial mediation. And then M2 has effect on Y. Okay, tapi yang ni jarang lah. Okay, and then this is the measurement invariance. Okay, and this is just the guideline when using the SAM. Okay, this hierarchical order component model. Or we can say that it's the second order construct. Third order construct is also the alternative name for the higher order component model. Okay, for the importance performance matrix analysis already available in Smart PLS lah. We can get to know which construct most important, which construct most performance in the analysis. Okay, and then this is the role of theory in academic research. Okay, yang ni saya akan explain lah example daripada field yang berbeza yang menggunakan SAM. Okay, the role of theory in academic research. Okay, for example, this is SAM example. Okay, untuk information system research, okay, let's say this is our framework. Okay, we have information system, system quality, and service quality as the exogenous construct. Okay, we have one mediator intention to use, And then this is the user satisfaction is called as the endogenous construct. If we have a look here, user satisfaction is the behavioral construct. So the suitable one is CBSAM lah. Sebab menurut Hensler 2016 yang saya explain tadi, behavioral construct usually we can use the CBSAM. Tapi kalau untuk design construct we can use the PLSAM. In this case, DV user satisfaction ni mostly about the behavioral construct, and at the same time this proposed model actually has been well developed by the previous literature. Jadi maknanya model ni sebenarnya diambil daripada field yang sebelum ni. Contohnya daripada sistem quality, daripada intention ini, daripada TAM model, technology acceptance model, and then we try to apply. Okay, here I just using the Dillon and Matlin information system. Gabungan antara Dillon and Matlin information system with the technology acceptance model, and then using the user's certification as the dependent variable endogenous construct. Okay, so the most relevant method is the CBSAM lah. Okay, bila from this CBSAM, this is our framework. When we try to apply in Amos, okay, this is the model. Okay, this is the model. This is the output from the Amos software. Okay, information system, system quality, service quality, okay, intention to use and user satisfaction. Okay, similar. Okay, very similar. That's why when we going to present in the conference or virtual conference, we didn't have to we can from this figure we can explain more about this model. Okay, kalau kita menggunakan regression analysis mungkin agak difficult lah sebab result yang terhasil daripada regression akan keluar many table. Tapi using Sam Amos we can get here. We can directly get the result here. Information system. Okay, this is the factor loading. Okay, IS1, IS2 is the item that measure the information system. Okay, SS1 until SS5 is the item to measure the service quality and also another construct. Okay, this is the factor loading, and this is the R squared coefficient of determination for each item. Okay, for each item. Okay, for the whole construct we have 34% of the total items. Okay, maknanya daripada sini kita akan dapat result untuk square, untuk coefficient of determination, dapat result untuk factor loadings. Okay, this is the correlation. Okay, this is the standardized beta coefficient. Maknanya kita akan dapat result untuk correlation, factor loading, regression. But if we apply the regression analysis, we need to separately analyze because because the result for each correlation. Okay, for example, to get the result of factor loading, using SPSS, we need to run the EFA, exploratory factor analysis. But using SAM, we can get this result in a single model. Okay, immediately dapat. Mana kita akan dapat factor loading, correlation, and regression. Okay, 3 methods in a single model. That's why SAM also considered as the hybrid model because can apply more than two methods in a single model. Okay, this is a hybrid method. Okay, ini adalah fitness index. Okay, from fitness index kita boleh explain pelbagai cara, okay, dari segi correlation, R squared dan juga standardized. Okay, next. This is the entrepreneurship research. Okay, yang ni agak complicated sikit. Okay, attitude. Okay, attitude is the second order construct and also subjective norm. Subjective norm also the second order construct because the attitude has been measured by the sub PBB, PRB, EK. And for the subjective norm has been measured by 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Only 3 sub MO, MI, and CI. Okay, here. This is the factor loading 0.949494. This is the factor loading, and this is the correlation between attitude and the subjective norm. Okay, and then we also get the result, the correlation between subjective norm and the perceived behavioral. Okay, this is the mediator. Okay, this is the mediator. This is mediator. This is the example of the serial mediation. Serial mediation means that attitude has effect on personal value. So And at the same time, personal value has effect on intention to use. In fact, we recognize personal value as the mediator and also intention to mediator. Mediator has effect on mediator. So we consider it as the serial mediation. Okay, this is the example of the serial mediation. Okay, this is the result for the R squared. Okay, factor loading, correlation. Okay, standardized beta regression. Okay, we can get all result in a single model. Okay, this is the example for the management same. Okay, management research, okay, hospital image, okay, because please make sure that we need to identify whether our research is suitable for the CBSEM or PLS. Okay, after we recognize, we sure about the character of the model, then we can apply the method, any method that's suitable with the research. Okay, that's why we need to make sure the goal, what is the goal of our research. Kalau untuk kita testing the theory using the established theory, we can use the CBSEM. Tapi kalau kita develop a new model based on the inconsistent statement ataupun based on the lack of evidence, that's we call as the exploratory. Jadi yang method yang sesuai adalah PLSM. Okay, ataupun another mana-mana method lah yang under composite method. Okay, and then saya ada nak share jugalah yang tentang debating on using PLS. Okay, kepada yang researcher yang menggunakan PLSM ni kira kena hati-hatilah. Sebab sekarang ni banyak sangat penentang PLS. That's why before we try to apply PLSM, please put the justification. Sebab kalau ikut di sini, ini adalah pada author yang ban the PLS method. Ronco Litale is the associate editor for the Journal of Operation Management. This is the Q1 journal, ISI Q1. Impact factor higher than 8. Okay, Ronco yang memang dia ban lah tentang method PLS. So that's why saya critically explain about the difference between the confirmatory and exploratory. Kalau lack of justification, memang kena rejected lah. Kalau untuk Antonakis is the chief editor-in-chief for the Journal of Leadership, Q1 journal also rejected the method of PLSM. Okay, that's why before, ini adalah senarai nama yang reject yang saya setakat ni saya tahulah. Okay, yang reject menggunakan method PLS, they prefer to use the CBSEM. Okay, Ronco, okay, Aguero Yoreta, okay, nama-nama yang reject PLSM. Okay, so bila kepada siapa yang guna PLSM, kena hati-hatilah. Okay, this is the one statement from McDonald, Wayne and Robinson. Okay, PLS seemed to have acquired something of a mystic among European investigators, yet it was an algorithm without either a model or any clear optimal properties. And a student occasionally asks whether they should follow fashion and use it. The mild irritation induced by this fact forced me to end investigation. The resulting discovered global properties for the algorithm and gave half a dozen, okay, most of which were easier to apply and clearly better than PLS. Okay, maksudnya daripada kita menggunakan PLS, ada lagi beberapa method lain yang lebih sesuai berbanding PLSM. Okay, ini daripada McDonald ni untuk statistician tu agak famous jugalah, yang memperkenalkan banyak estimator. Okay, next, okay, this is the editor of Journal Operation Management from the Guide and Kito KV 2015. Okay, we understand that operation management scholars are not statisticians, but one needs to understand the tools one uses to an appreciable depth. The most elementary example is the continuing use of partially square. We are thus rejecting practically all PLS-based manuscript because we have concluded that PLS is incorrectly justified. Okay, ini ada pada editor sendiri. Editor Journal of Operation Management. Maknanya daripada editor sendiri pun, yang ketua editor sendiri daripada Journal Operation pun menafikan tentang PLS. Jadi, kalau ada siapa-siapa nak guna method PLS tu, jangan hantar jurnal ni lah. Kalau nasihat saya, boleh hantar pada jurnal lain lah. Tapi yang ni memang agak ekstrim lah daripada editor ni. Okay, this is the conversation between the Netcode and George Hensler. Okay, untuk Netcode ni, Netcode ni adalah developer untuk work PLS. Okay, Netcode is the developer for the work PLS software. Okay, also the one of the name. And then Hansler is the developer for the Edenco software. Actually, Hansler also the one that create the method of the consistent PLS and also introduce the alternative establishing the discriminability HTMT. He is the one develop the HTMT criterion. Okay, even daripada two conversation ni pun, okay, ada yang masing-masing sama-sama dia pun Netcode dengan George Hansler pun ada debate antara dua ni. Padahal dua-dua tu adalah PLS user. Maknanya dia kata software dia ada percanggahan pendapat lah tentang PLSM. Okay, ini adalah example lah. Okay, example conversation between George Hansler and Netcode. Okay, sebab itulah kalau apa-apa, okay, ini adalah structural equation modeling journal. Okay, structural equation modeling journal under Taylor and Francis. Okay, this is ISIQ1 journal. Okay, this journal has been launched since 1994 about development of SEM. Tapi sejak kemunculan dia tak pernah ada satu method pun tentang PLS. Sebab ramai yang condemn tentang PLS. Okay, tapi walau bagaimanapun PLS SEM still lagi famous dalam kalangan social science research. Jadi untuk pastikan PLS SEM ni masih lagi boleh diterima, kita sebagai researcher perlu ada justifikasi lah yang strong untuk menggunakan PLS. Okay, the first justification kita kena pastikan model kita tu sama ada exploratory or confirmatory. We need to critically explain about construct behavior before we choose any method. Okay, and then ni adalah yang ni daripada saya. Yang QR code yang ni tentang publication saya sebelum ni lah kalau siapa-siapa yang nak baca. Okay, tapi sebelum tu, before we finish, I just going to share you the regression analysis. Okay, the difference between the regression analysis and CBSEM. When we try to, saya cuma nak compare result antara CBSEM, AMO software dengan SPSS. Okay, sekejap saya kena buka software dulu. Okay, sebab ada siapa-siapa yang nak sementara saya buka
Assalamualaikum Doktor.
Ya.
Macam saya nampak sekarang ni, macam kalau kita buat dalam HPSS, banyak jurnal dia macam tak nak terima dah. Dia kata tu macam biasa-biasa je. So sekarang ni macam they are looking for other type of software, the way cara kita nak buat analysis, especially dalam serve qual ke benda yang dah biasa, tapi kalau kita pakai SPSS, bagi dia orang benda tu tak cukup lagi.
Betul. Saya pun tidak menafikan, even saya sendiri sebagai ketua editor jurnal fakulti sendiri, saya pun menggalakkan author publish paper dalam menggunakan method SEM. Sebab regression analysis tu sekarang ni kita dah anggap sebagai first generation method. Bila first generation method ni sebenarnya telah agak lama lah, sebab first generation tu sebelum kehadiran SEM lagi. Tapi untuk structural equation modeling, kita anggap sebagai second generation method. Walaupun result regression analysis tu dikatakan boleh hampir sama bila kita compare dengan CBSEM bila kita buat mean score compute, tapi dari segi ketepatan, dari segi assumption tu CBSEM lah, sebab dia mengukur measurement error bagi setiap item, lepas tu tak perlu buat untuk compute mean bagi setiap construct. Jadi untuk journal, contoh saya ada jugalah menerima daripada student, kalau journal daripada UUM sendiri yang Malaysia Journal MJLI, kalau tak silap saya, dia editor-in-chief sendiri pun menggalakkan author menggunakan SEM method. Kalau guna regression terus dia reject, tanpa dia tengok dari segi quality, content of the paper. Maknanya dia tengok dari segi method dulu. Jadi maknanya kalau kita guna method tu, CBSEM tu sebenarnya boleh, kalau kita pandai mahir menggunakan metode CBSEM tu, sepatutnya kira tu dah ada maknanya dah ada satu peluang lah untuk kita terbit dalam mana jenis corpus sendiri pun. Maknanya kalau kita guna regression tu agak susah. Tapi ada setengah jenis yang masih lagi menggunakan metode method regression lah, sesetengah jurnal, tapi tak semua jurnal, kebanyakannya menggunakan SAM. Even kalau jurnalnya Q1 ke Q2 memang guna SAM. Okey, ada lagi soalan nak tanya?
Satu lagi doktor, kalau kita dah biasa guna SPSS, nak guna SAM tu, data tu yang kita dah dapat daripada kita punya questionnaire, boleh ke kita convert masukkan dalam SAM?
Boleh. Boleh convert dalam SAM. Boleh convert dalam SAM. Jadi mungkin kalau puan ada data, mungkin puan boleh try saya buat tak ada data kan. Okay. Jadi sebenarnya boleh lah kita menggunakan SAM tu. Jadi regression analysis ni dia sebenarnya walaupun kita mungkin tak familiar dengan SAM method, tapi sebenarnya taklah susah sebenarnya. Jadi sebab itulah kalau hari ni saya nak tunjuk lah, okay, yang ni adalah contoh Amos software. Okay, this is Amos software. Okay, bila dalam Amos ni, Amos dia boleh baca data daripada SPSS sahaja. Okay, boleh baca data daripada SPSS. Okay, katakanlah saya try run, okay, menggunakan SPSS. Okay, ini data. Okay, file name. Okay. Okay, ini saya tunjuk example lah. Kalau kita run regression analysis using Amos software. Kalau kita sebenarnya result daripada regression from SPSS and Amos ni sebenarnya sama je. Yang membezakan Amos dengan SPSS, apabila kita Amos boleh menggunakan unobserved modeling, tapi kalau regression kita boleh guna observed modeling sahaja. Okay, tapi kalau kita compare result antara regression Amos dengan regression SPSS sama. Tapi ada jugalah alternatifnya. Saya sebab adalah student yang jumpa saya, dia tak berapa familiar dengan SAM, tapi dia nak publish paper sebab dia kata reviewer tu yang menilai paper, dia kata dia akan accept paper tu kalau dia guna SAM. Jadi sebagai alternatifnya dia kata nak untuk terbit paper dalam masa yang singkat ni agak lama lah sebab dia kena faham dulu method SAM. Jadi saya pun adalah cadang. Okay, kalau macam ni cuba guna regression analysis using Amos sebab mungkin reviewer tu mungkin boleh terima lah. Okay, ni adalah contoh kalau kita guna regression analysis using Amos. Okay, katakanlah saya pun, okay, this is a variable, list of variable. Okay, untuk regression using Amos ni, okay, kita boleh ambil mean. Kena buat mean dahulu dekat SPSS. Okay, katakanlah, okay, mean S1, okay, S2, okay, Y. Okay, tarik sahaja sebenarnya, senang je sebenarnya. Lepas tu kita boleh nak resize observe variable. Okay, resize ke. Ataupun kita nak besarkan lagi. Okay, all. Okay, kita boleh resize construct. Okay. Okay, lepas tu. Okay, kita pun nak setting kedudukan. Okay. Okay, ini adalah regression analysis using Amos. Okay, ini adalah dari effect. And then kita kena ada correlation antara independent variable. Okay. Okay, yang ni kita kena ada R square. Bukan R square, measurement error. Okay, we have this is the regression model using Amos. Okay, ini saya tunjuk example dulu lah. Okay, okay, kita boleh adjust kedudukan setting. Okay. Okay, try kita analyze. Okay, yang ni saya kata ada estimator. Okay, dalam Amos dia dah default dah untuk maximal likelihood. Tapi sebenarnya ada lagi beberapa estimator. Okay, tapi kita guna maximal likelihood lah. Okay, output, standardized estimate, squared multiple correlation, covariance of estimate, correlation. Okay. Okay, lepas tu kita try run. Okay, Amos dia kena share dulu lah. Okay, regression. Using Amos software. Okay, save. Okay. Okay, daripada ni, okay, from here, okay, we get the result. Okay, untuk correlation, this is the covariance. Bila kita tick untuk unstandardized estimate, yang terhasil adalah covariance estimate. Tapi untuk correlation value, kena klik sini, standardized estimate. Okay, this is the correlation value between mean S1 and S2. Okay, this is the standardized beta coefficient. Okay, this is the R square. Okay, daripada sini kita dah dapat dah result. Regression analysis menggunakan Amos. Okay, cuba kita compare dengan SPSS. Okay, kalau kita compare dengan SPSS. Okay. Okay, saya nak compare antara regression analysis menggunakan SPSS dan AMOS. Mungkin kalau ada siapa-siapa yang terbit yang mungkin belum familiar lagi dengan SAM, tapi bolehlah kita guna regression analysis menggunakan SAM AMOS, menggunakan software AMOS. At least mungkin panel tu akan dapat capture sikit lah yang kita ada effort untuk menggunakan analisis AMOS. Okay, ambil masa. Okay, sementara ni ada lagi nak tanya? Ada soalan ke? Tak ada? Tak ada soalan? Okay, sebab lambat. Okay. Okay, saya sebenarnya guna laptop tapi sebab bila kita pindah ke PC tadi, sebab ada masalah laptop tadi, tu jadi lambat sikit lah.
Doktor?
Ya.
So kiranya kalau kita ada data daripada SPSS, kalau dalam AMOS tu kita just pilih je mana data dia ya?
Dalam masa kita boleh tarik je. Boleh drag daripada ni. Okay, ini jadi kalau buat soalan puan tu dia bentuk macam samalah yang dengan Sam Amos ni lah. Dia ada questionnaire yang ada ada item-item di ke scale. Memang dah ada lah.
Dah ada. Saya dah ada macam ni. So saya boleh transfer je lah ke AMOS ya?
Boleh Boleh transfer to Amos. Tak ada masalah. Okay, ni saya tunjuk example lah. Okay, ni kalau min Y tadi. Okay. S1, S2. Okay, saya nak tunjuk comparison result lah. Okay. Okay, katakanlah okay. Okay, here. Okay. Okay, ni adalah result SPSS. Okay, cuba kita compare dengan result Amos. Okay. Okay. Okay, yang ni okay. This is the R squared. Okay, from the regression analysis lah. Cuba kalau tengok pada regression analysis from Amos. Okay, kita akan dapat result sama, 0.337. Sama. In Amos, we call it as the squared multiple correlation. Okay, kalau biasa kita dengar coefficient of determination lah. Okay, ni adalah 0.337. Result regression analysis from Amos sama dengan SPSS. Kalau kita tengok pada nilai nilai beta. Okay, tengok pada nilai beta. Okay, from nilai beta estimate, okay, kita dapat apa? 0.391. Okay, sama. 391, 357. Maknanya, kalau kita menggunakan software Amos, regression analysis pun still lagi dapat result sama. Jadi sebab itulah kita digalakkan menggunakan software Amos. Sebab kalau kita dah ada planning untuk testing the hypothesis, why not we just using the Amos directly? Okay, kita akan dapat result immediately sama lah, cuma beza sikit lah daripada ni. Okay. Tapi significant dia still sama. In Amos, if the p-value less than 0.001, dia akan keluar bentuk bintang. Okay, tapi kita boleh baca output sini lah kalau kita tick. Dan kalau kita tick, dia akan keluar output. Okay, the interpretation. Okay, the probability of getting a critical ratio. Setiap daripada color ni kita boleh keluar interpretation. Mana kita boleh keluar. Okay, sebab itulah kalau kita dah ada tujuan yang sama untuk testing hypothesis, baik kita directly guna Sam Amos. Okay, lagi nampak clear. Yang ni result ni, yang ni dalam bentuk 2 decimal place lah, sama lah. Okay. Okay, ni tu. Yang ni standardized estimate. Kalau unstandardized, okay, kita tick. Okay, unstandardized kita dapat 39. Okay, sama. 391, 357. Okay, untuk R squared, okay, 34. Ini dapat 337. Okay, kita akan dapat nilai result daripada SPSS dan AMOS tu sama. Okay, jadi kalau puan ada menggunakan dah ada SPSS, mungkin boleh terus tarik je. Terus tarik, lepas tu terus analyze. Okay, kalau masih lagi belum biasa dengan SEM lah, tapi at least adalah effort. Okay, ada nak tanya lagi pasal ni? Ada nak tanya lagi ke? Pasal SEM ada yang nak tanya pasal method ke? Okay, sebab hari ni saya cuma share tentang overview of SEM lah. Tapi kalau untuk lebih detail tu saya tak sempat. Kalau kita nak try run untuk CFA, lepas tu nak try untuk structural model. Sebab sekarang ni structural model tu dia ada banyak approach. Jadi kalau untuk kita habiskan semua tu dalam satu tempoh singkat 2 jam ni mungkin tak sempat lah. Okay, jadi saya overview dahulu. Okay, kepada yang belum familiar dengan software AMOS, okay, inilah AMOS. Okay, kita ada, okay, untuk select data boleh klik sini, select data file. Lepas tu file name, boleh browse cari data. Okay, lepas tu kita boleh pilih option. Nak pilih untuk apa? Untuk dapatkan output bagi standardized estimate, squared multiple correlation, covariance correlation. Untuk test for normality and outlier pun dah ada. Jadi tak perlulah kita nak test normality menggunakan SPSS. Sebab dalam AMOS software pun memang dah ada. Okay, boleh klik sini, kita try tengok. Okay, kalau klik, okay. Okay, ini kita boleh ni. Okay, analysis assessment of normality. Okay, ini adalah kurtosis, skewness, multivariate. Okay, kalau ke multivariate below than 15 tu, maksudnya data tu normal. Lepas tu dari segi kurtosis tu, antara in the range between 3.3, okay, negative 3 and positive 3, okay, acceptable lah. Okay, untuk kurtosis. Okay, jadi untuk menghalang noise distance ni untuk dari segi outlier. Makna from AMOS software pun kita sebenarnya boleh access untuk normality, outlier. Okay, untuk estimation kita boleh dapat regression, correlation dan R-squared. Makna daripada single klik saja kita boleh dapat semua. Tapi kalau SPSS kita kena buat secara berasingan output dia. Okay, itu saya kata. Jadi better terus guna SAM. Okay, this is AMOS software. Senang. Lepas tu kita boleh ubah kedudukan. Ikutlah kreativiti masa nak ubah kedudukan. Boleh. Nak macam mana? Boleh. Kita boleh ubah kedudukan. Okay, selalunya kita akan lukis draw model tu exactly same like the from the proposed framework lah. Baru lebih detail. Okay. Ada soalan lagi ke?
AMOS
Assalamualaikum,
boleh buat
Doktor.
graf kan doktor?
Graf? Maksudnya?
Kalau kita nak buat histo ke apa ke.
Nak buat apa yang frekuensi apa tu ke?
Ya betul.
Yang tu tak boleh. Yang tu kena SPSL lah yang untuk demografi analisis tu. Tapi kalau untuk yang analisis dia boleh. Yang tu Excel atau SPSL lah. Selalu kita guna. Okay, ada yang tanya ni?
Dr. Ashraf, saya nak tanya. Okay, so sekarang ni Smart PLS nowadays memang dah famous sangat. Dan kebanyakan PhD candidate, even academician sendiri ramai guna Smart PLS compared to AMOS. Dan bila saya perhatikan, and ada beberapa juga PhD candidate, ada juga academician yang datang jumpa saya yang mempunyai study yang confirmatory tapi masih lagi nak menggunakan Smart PLS sebagai tool untuk data analisis dengan alasan yang seperti yang doktor dah beritahu lah, data tak normal dan sebagainya. Dan kebanyakan daripada mereka pun menggunakan PLS sebab supervisor yang minta, supervisor yang suruh. Cuma soalan saya, adakah masih valid kajian confirmatory yang menggunakan Smart PLS sebagai tool untuk analisis data?
Okay, kalau dari segi sejujurnya lah, even daripada HAIR sendiri pun yang 2019, HAIR 2019 ataupun mana-mana proponent yang pelopor kepada partial square path modeling pun sendiri pun dia adalah buat teguran lah. Dia kata PLS ni sebenarnya dibina untuk exploratory. Jadi kalau kita baca daripada buku mereka pun, kebanyakan dia akan, the main objective tu adalah exploratory. Tapi kebiasaan bila dah ramai yang guna smart PLS tu yang menyebabkan ramai yang salah faham tentang tentang kewujudan PLS ni. Sebab PLS ni dia dibina sebagai alternatif untuk CBSM untuk exploratory. Tapi kebanyakan yang guna PLS ni sebab dia kata data tak normal, lepas tu small sample size. Jadi sebenarnya kalau ikutkan dari segi valid tu tak valid lah. Dari segi valid, kalau tanya saya maksudnya tak valid lah. Kalau tanya pada statistician yang lain pun, contoh daripada Ronco sendiri ataupun Hensler yang salah seorang daripada PLS user pun, dia akan kata benda tu salah. Tapi kebanyakan paper, kalau saya sendiri pun saya baca paper daripada top journal pun, ada lagi yang masih boleh terbit paper katanya menggunakan confirmatory study, tapi dia menggunakan method PLS. Kalau ikutkan sepatutnya salah, tapi mungkin masih diterima tu sebab mungkin reviewer sendiri pun belum ada cukup knowledge tentang bezanya antara PLS dengan CBSM. Okay, ada lagi ke belum mencukupi
Terima kasih Dr.
Okay. Sebabnya saya faham, sebabnya kalau kita nak menggunakan method PLS time ni, kita akan dapat result lebih kita akan dapat result apa yang kita nak. Kalau contohnya lah, kalau smart PLS selalunya untuk kita dapat nilai factor loading tu lebih tinggi berbanding dengan CBSM. Tapi hakikatnya bila kita buat simulation study, kita compare antara CBSM dengan PLSM menggunakan model yang sama, sampel yang sama, bila kita dah set factor loading tu, katakanlah kita buat simulation, kita set nilai factor loading bagi setiap construct tu adalah 0.6. Tapi kalau untuk PLSM dia akan tinggi, dia akan jadi dapat 0.8. Compare dengan CBSM akan dapat 0.6 something. Maknanya dari segi bias dia di situ antara 0.8 dengan 0.6 tu gap dia tu jauh, 0.2 perbezaan bias. Sebab itulah ramai researcher yang berpandangan bias, bila terlalu banyak sangat bias, maksudnya item-item yang mengukur construct tu adalah tak relevan lah. Okay, sebabnya PLS tu memang tak konsisten. Sebab itulah wujudnya method baru dia panggil consistent PLS. Tapi consistent PLS pun dia hanya sesuai untuk reflective construct, dia masih lagi di peringkat development. Tapi itulah bila current situation sekarang, terutama di Malaysia ni, memang ramailah yang menggunakan PLS. Kalau compare CBSM, bila data tak normalnya terus guna PLSM. Bila data tak cukup je guna PLSM. Bila data tak fit, model tak fit, terus guna PLSM. Sebab PLS ada satu sahaja fitness index, iaitu SRMR. Yang terbaru ia ada RMS theta. Tapi kalau AMOS ni dia ada banyak fitness index. Tapi sebenarnya fitness index ni dia tujuannya adalah untuk kita tahu sejauh manakah kesepadanan data dengan model yang kita persembahkan. Kalau data yang kita collect tu tak fit, tak compatible dengan model yang kita propose, jadi macam mana kita nak testing hypothesis? Jadi sepatutnya kita kena appreciate dengan fitness index. Sama juga kalau kita pergi mana-mana shopping mall sekarang ni, kalau kita nak pergi mana-mana pun kita kena buat saringan dulu, testing dulu suhu badan dulu. Kita bila dah suhu kurang 37.5 baru kita boleh masuk mall tu. Sama juga dengan CBSM. Kita kena pastikan badan model kita fit dulu, barulah kita boleh testing. Tapi dengan PLSM yang ada masih lagi ada kelemahan, ramai lagi yang salah faham lah, misuse. Dia guna PLSM atas sebab dia nak dapat result yang cantik. Ada sebab dia small sample sikit, small sample. Lepas tu data tak normal. Lepas tu dia kata paling famous. Dia guna PLS sebab dia kata sekarang ni paling famous. Yang famous tu dekat Malaysia. Saya rasa sebenarnya kalau di negara Eropah yang sebenar, banyak lagi yang condemn PLS. Tapi kalau kita nak generalize to the whole world, maknanya kalau lebih selamat kita guna CBSM lah. CBSM tu lebih selamat digunakan. Sebab dia dari segi establish first, dan memang diterima ramai. Kalau guna CBSM tak ada banyak soalan lah. Tapi kalau guna PLSM, selalunya banyak soalan. Okey, itu sajalah. Daripada saya ke ada tanya lagi sebelum saya pass kepada Dr. Nazim? Okay, tak ada eh? Okay, kalau tak ada, saya, okay, that's all from me. Okay, thank you. Okay, I will pass to Dr. Nazir.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ashraf Aftanahan, on the sharing. I hope that all participants gain valuable inputs from the session. And after this, I will be sharing a link of feedback form for all participants to answer. It will only take you a few minutes to be completed.